A face. A war. A man.
A podcast.
A podcast to break the walls of Troy. Was that cringe? I don't know.
Wait.
Oh. You took my bit. This is today's reading of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. You can put that there. Hopefully you can't read that, otherwise it's just kind of embarrassing.
Well, finally, a movie's come out.
Yes.
We finally have something to talk about that isn't the same game that we keep getting taken down every time we post it.
Hey. Appreciate the love that it's getting, though.
Yeah.
On the places that it's not taken down, appreciate it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Apologies for my demeanor today. I am feeling a little under the weather, but I have enough energy to talk about the Odyssey.
Yeah. Hopefully this episode's not as long of an experience for you.
Here we go. Up the rails.
Off as the Odyssey was for me. Because, boy. I don't know. Like, I've watched multiple 3-hour movies
Is your
in my
stamina
life.
getting worse?
Yeah, I can't keep it up no more.
My body can't take it. I can't sit through another 3-hour movie.
You have movie dysfunction.
No.
We've got a little cinema
No.
frame pill for you.
Oh, my gosh. Get at your local gas station.
Next to the... No, I've watched many 3-hour movies in my life. And I don't think there's ever been one that has truly felt as long of an endeavor as this one did.
You think that might have been the point?
Yeah, obviously. But like...
Man, this 20-year-long journey feels like forever.
But... And like... It's not long in a bad way, right? Like,
Yeah.
You're not like watching it and you're like, oh my gosh.
Like, this movie should have ended 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
No, but it is long. Like, it's, yeah. I mean, I think it also added to the experience that, you know, it's pretty common knowledge that movie theaters are typically freezing.
Yeah, usually.
So
this one was not.
I showed up in like appropriate. It's the middle of the summer, and it's like 100 plus, just about every day of the week here in Utah. So I showed up to this movie theater in pants, and it was probably a nice solid 80 degrees in that movie theater.
It was rough. They really got acclimated pretty quick.
I felt like it was 4D, but not because
I felt like I was actually in the Mediterranean.
I was in the Trojan horse.
Oh, smelled like I was too.
Rough stuff.
It's okay. I sat through the whole thing anyway.
Yeah.
Nothing was going to get me out of that seat except the end credits.
But it was good. It was a really good movie, actually. But to keep on par with our traditional format.
I've never been able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one time.
One time. What were some things that you really liked about the movie, Trevor?
I like how it still kind of felt like storybooky. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because once it really got into it, when it wasn't so much like, here's Odysseus, here's what's going on back in Ithaca, and you're kind of flip flopping between the two of them, and you're getting like exposition as to how we got to where we're at. I guess maybe I shouldn't phrase it that way. The whole movie is exposition.
That's true. That's true.
Like it didn't felt like it was kind of like rushing through each chapter of the film where, you know, this event happens and then this event happens and this event. It kind of flowed really nicely, and then also was able to take it back to Ithaca just as easily and as well, in my opinion. I felt like I was able to like understand and see and raise the stakes for both sides of the story, the A and B sides. It was like enough to keep me, you know, locked in on what was going on, but also was like just added to my experience, because I felt like there really was like tension, and it felt like there was kind of like a rush. Like, you know, I'm feeling in my seat. I'm feeling Odysseus needs to get home because Penelope's about to like waste her life by getting with one of these suitors. Even though, you know, like knowing the story, I know that that doesn't happen. But like honestly, like
they do a good job at like tensing the movie up.
Yeah,
right.
Very, very well made, I will say. I know I said to you like right after the credits started rolling, I was like, that movie looked expensive as hell.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like it really like it looked like they really put their money where their mouth was.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I'm shocked that movie wasn't more expensive. I think like the budget was like $250 million or something.
I mean, it makes perfectly sense, like perfectly clear. Like I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It makes like perfect sense. Why? Because this is like Christopher I hate CGI Nolan. So everything he does, he's like, they're like, Chris, you know, we could just make the giants in the computer. It'll be cheaper. No, find one. They don't exist. Make one.
That really was an actual 7-foot tall child.
Puppet it.
The Laestrygonian, right? I think.
Yeah.
An actual child. They
Watch
just
this.
found.
You're about to get your socks blown off. We'll put the camera on the floor, and then we'll film 7-foot tall people next to 5 feet tall people. They're gonna look huge.
They did this in Lord of the Rings. Could do it here. It's all just perspective. That's all.
But yeah, I get where you're going with that. Like it just looks good too. Like
I also like. I don't know. I have a feeling that as I ramble on about this subject, I might get lost. But I really liked how the movie like was able to balance the grounded and magic parts of this story. Because like obviously there's some clear moments where like that's like divine intervention there, right? Like they go to Hades and they talk to the dead. Like that can't happen, kind of a thing. And then it's very much like these guys are sailing and they're just dealing with the waters and they're saying it's Poseidon, and maybe it is. Maybe it's just rough waters. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then like with some of the like with the Laestrygonians, like it took me a second until it was like super obvious to realize that the trees were moving and not that like they were just getting lost in the forest as they were trying to run away. Obviously, like once it was like, oh, the trees just put them in a cage.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, like you can clearly see the parallax and everything shifting around, and you're like even now, like, are the Laestrygonians doing this? Is it just the nature of the island that it does this? But it helps like adds on to the mythical side of this story, on top of all the other things that are just so iconic in media that like kind of nuts that we have like another official depiction of this, that it probably, I mean, I can't say this for certain, but I feel like that this version of the Odyssey might shut down future productions of the actual story for a long time.
Yeah.
You might get another SpongeBob version, but
well, I maintain that is the superior version. However, I was a
I
little
had to pick a second.
I was a little sad that Odysseus and crew didn't make themselves grow mustaches. No, I think one thing that I think the thing that I liked the most about it, because I remember when I read the book, I remember thinking to myself, how are they gonna make this like, how are they gonna make? Because in the book, like it's storytelling, right? Like you're not watching the events happen because it's like this happened because we did this and because I did this. Like it's storytelling, right? So I was really curious how they would like attack that, in movie, because flashbacks are a little harder in movie format, right? They're actually, well, they are and they aren't. Like they're easier to describe in movie format than they are in book format. But if they're done well book format, then you're like, how are they gonna like pull this off, right?
Yeah.
Because in the books, they say, oh, I remember this, or we did this, signaling that it happened, right? And they did a really good job at like, because you think like at the beginning of the movie, right? They have Travis Scott fiending all over the place. No, they have Travis Scott like beginning.
He's a bard
to tell the story, and they show like bits and pieces of like the actual story starting to happen.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, stop it. We've already heard it. And then it doesn't do anything. Right. So you'd think that it would kind of go that direction, right? That he would then continue to tell the stories. Right. And then that would be why it shows.
Kind of to add on to that, because it was a thought that just came to my mind, but like the way that the dialogue is written right there at the very beginning, with Penelope stopping the psalm and Telemachus saying that he wanted them to know where they got their wine from and stuff. I feel like that is one of those like meta cinema moments where the director is trying to speak to the audience directly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we've already heard this story a lot. It's 3,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You need to hear it again, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like thinking about it again with like the messages that are very clearly taught through the film, especially by the end. Like, yeah, it probably is that way.
Mm-hmm.
Just wants you to remember some of the things that are taught.
Yeah. So that was something that I really enjoyed about it. Like the cinematization, if that's not a word, but of storytelling, I thought was really interesting.
I think that is adaptation.
The adaptation.
This movie will be in best adapted screenplay.
Yeah, absolutely. And it should probably win it.
Funnily enough. Yeah, it, almost certainly. I guess it really will be up between the Odyssey and Dune for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Weird.
But
Odysseus versus Paul Atreides.
well, if you think about it, Paul Atreides is only here because of Agamemnon. So
Lords are up for 99% of the population who don't know that.
The House Atreides comes from Agamemnon. They're used to being
Tens
betrayed.
of thousands of years later.
But that was something that I enjoyed. I think like another thing that we talked about it and you touched on it a little bit, but just like the cinematography of the movie.
I knew it would be good.
Yeah.
That's one of those. It's one of those films. It's like
How good can it be?
the story is written around the cinematography almost.
Yeah.
Like, Chris, look at this shot. Oh, this is where we'll have the Scylla and the whirlpool. Like, you see that? Like,
so those were some things that I like really enjoyed. This movie and like Christopher Nolan is definitely like a Tristan's Paradise because I love practical effects, and I think Nolan only eats, sleeps, and breathes practical.
he's considered amongst, I think, actors, from what I've heard. He's an actor's director.
Mhm.
And so I think that most of the reason why he does so many practical effects first is to help get the best performances possible out of his actors, and also to kind of to help like instill more magic, because you can always tell when it's fake most of the time, and then like when they have real stuff, real pyrotechnics, real like weather machines, real puppetry, like you can see that it brings out the most out of these actors. So I'm very much with you. I do very much like practical effects, mostly because I'm just a huge behind the scenes junkie, and so seeing that kind of stuff is awesome.
Like watching it all come to like into. Oh man,
they had a real lion, tiger, and jaguar on set.
Yeah, and it's just like really interesting to see. Like so with the. With the Cyclops scene, did they use CGI on the puppet, or did they just use the puppet to?
Well, I think they did. They did kind of both.
Or did they just use the puppet for like the angles in the shot? Right?
Probably
like
everything.
Focus points.
They wouldn't have made it. They wouldn't have made a 20-foot tall version of the actual look of the Cyclops if they were just going to use it for like eye lines
Thanos'
and stuff,
head.
right? Like you can, like if you think about it, like I kind of noticed this because I was trying to kind of notice it when I was watching it, but like every scene where like the Cyclops is asleep in the cave, like you kind of see at first like, oh, that's really there, right? And they probably like replace face things for like facial animation and noise and movement and all that. Because what was his name? Bill Boyd, I think, the guy who does the actual acting of Polyphemus.
Yeah,
like clearly based off of the pictures of the puppet, like he did all that stuff first. They had the design and the makeup and the look of based on him, right? I think he gets to keep that head sidetrack. It's a mannequin head of himself. I wouldn't want to keep that. That's terrifying.
This is going
like an 8-foot tall.
This is going on my mental.
No, but like I do think like with those scenes in particular, because they're filming in a real cave in a super enclosed space and it's dark and the actual lighting, like you can tell like obviously they still have some light or whatever, but like it has to look like it's coming from the fire for the most part. And so when you don't see the fire in the picture, they just have lights to like emulate it and stuff. But like it's really well made scene. And you could tell from the performance of even like the extras, like that puppet is probably really terrifying.
Oh,
lit with nothing but firelight.
Yeah.
That would be insane to be a part of.
Well, and not to mention like not just the like being lit with firelight, but the fact that they're in like an actual cave. Right?
Yeah.
That would also add to it, right?
Like all of the vocal reverb is certainly like real and just like cleaned up in post.
Yeah. But that's
they actually ate a guy.
That stuff is always like super cool to me.
Nolan ate CGI so much he actually got Bill Boyd to eat a man on set.
A midget.
Okay.
What were some things that you didn't like?
I felt like, I don't know, I don't really have anything like substantial that like I really didn't like that isn't like such like nitpicky and like personal. Like I know that you're probably going to say you felt like the movie was too long or something. But like, I guess there were some parts where I felt like maybe Tom Holland's performance really wasn't like moving me emotionally.
Yeah.
But like, that doesn't mean he did a bad job in any way.
Yeah.
I just think that like us as an audience, like, and the way that he does like his American accent and stuff, like I guess I can't really like hear him getting like angry, that isn't like he's not in active combat. He's like grunting in anger and kind of a thing. Like it's it's hard for me to feel like he's. I mean, this might have been like on purpose. Like he's not super intimidating persona.
Yeah.
And so as he's delivering some of the lines, it just didn't really feel very much like how badly does he want to know if his father's alive?
I think in the case of like Tom Holland, I think he just suffers from being Spider-Man, right? Like, because I felt the same way when I watched him in Uncharted, right? Where it's not that he's a bad actor, and it's not that he isn't good at what he does, right? But when I hear Tom Holland do his American accent, like because it's not like all these other actors where they've played so many parts that they aren't just associated with one, right? They're associated with many roles that are good. Tom Holland has kind of only really been associated with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so when you hear him do all that stuff, like it's hard for me to get into it a little bit because I just feel like I'm watching Spider-Man in ancient Greece, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I still think that he really killed it.
Yeah, and that's not to take away from his performance at all.
I do think that he definitely was like anytime like I can't say that there's a time when he is acting with someone else, when there's him and another actor and they're talking or whatever, that he is the better performance than the other one.
Mm-mm. He is legit the best supporting role because he just is support in every scene that he does.
Yeah.
But I think to go along with that, I think my biggest issue would probably just be casting in general. And that's not to like, obviously there's a lot of complaints online. I'm not going to get into it because everybody's already heard it. I wouldn't say that I necessarily hated all of the casting choices that mainstream media had problems with, but I think in order to be completely unbiased and to give a full like actual review, I would say that a lot of the changes that were done that way were just kind of like not dumb, but like meh, right? They weren't, and that's not just with like the ones that everybody hated, but with like Tom Holland or, a couple of the extras for the suitors and stuff where I was like, there's obviously better choices for all of these, or like Travis Scott, right? There's obviously better choices for these. And when I'm watching it, I'm a little taken aback because I'm like, I know that there's a better option here, but like the movie's so good that you're kind of just left in a, whatever, like it's okay. Right? Where you're like watching characters have dialogue on screen and you're kind of like, this is, But then the next scene it'll shift to like Odysseus fighting for his life in a storm or doing something, and you're like, it's not that big of a deal, right? Like all of that stuff I feel like is very secondary.
I feel like in the end, every like, A-list actor that had a part, especially like think about like Lupita Nyong'o and Benny Safdie and stuff, like their parts were really small, but they were also really significant.
Yeah.
In the grand picture, and like they all elevated their roles a lot. Like I the very first thing I ever saw Benny Safdie in was Happy Gilmore 2. And so when I heard about his casting and then saw him in costume, I was like, this is so weird.
Well, and
I only know him as like something silly. And
Nolan made a great decision of keeping that guy only in a helmet.
Well, I mean, like, honestly, he did a good job.
Well, yes, but I do think that his appearance would have, not even like Happy Gilmore aside, homie's not like like his face and his role.
Probably the most Greek of everybody there.
Two different things, bro. two different messages. Benny Safdie gives off the, well, actually, kind of, but he did do actually a really good performance. And that's where I was like trying to go with it, right? Is that like it's okay to have like these complaints about, and not just with this movie, but really any of them. It's okay to have complaints with casting, and storyline and all of that such, blah blah blah, like character, not character, like line delivery, blah blah blah, XYZ. But I think a lot of times movies that are actually worth seeing, like they do well enough everywhere else that it just kind of makes this thing that everyone thought was going to be a major issue turn into something that's just like a minor thing where you're like, yeah, it was irritating to see Tom Holland and Zendaya in like the 18th movie of the year, but
yeah, like
that
after
doesn't ruin the movie. It doesn't like actually take away from the movie. So in the big picture, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying?
After movie had been out for a while, and everyone had seen it, and they had given the review and all that. Nowhere did I hear like, man, this movie was really good, but man, the costumes were not period accurate, or like no one that was cast was actually Greek. It was like, it's like, yeah, because no one actually cares. You
Like,
go see it, and you realize that the movie is made so well and is so beautiful that.
Wouldn't it have
like,
made it
doesn't
like
matter.
a cooler detail if they would have been able to keep some more of these like time period because I think that's what makes the score so special, right? If Ludwig Göransson would have just used regular orchestral instruments, I would have been like, oh, that's cool, great. You know,
Probably could have made it.
it's a bummer he didn't use like any Greek instruments, but also it's beautiful.
He
But
did.
then to
right?
Then to hear that like, but that's where I'm going, right?
Yeah. Sorry to step on your toes. Keep going.
That's what I was going with is like when you hear that they do like the specific things, it's not like oh, well, this elevates it so much more, right? Because you're still like, no, the score was beautiful, but it's kind of like the cherry on top to be like, oh.
He recreated an instrument that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're thinking about it, and like when you listen to it, you're like, oh, this doesn't sound like anything I've never heard before.
Yeah.
But just having that detail of like, oh, this is.
And that's how I felt like the
ancient
Odyssey,
Greek.
the movie, was entirely. Where, like, yeah, they didn't have time period costumes, but like, it still works. And frankly, if they did have time period costumes, I wouldn't have been like peak cinema.
Yeah.
You know?
Like if
I would have just been like, oh, cool.
like
It's just a talking dog.
if you refuse to watch this movie because it's not period accurate, just keep watching the History Channel.
Yeah.
Right? This movie's not going to be for you ever.
Yeah. I mean, but people love like the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson in it, and ain't nothing about the only thing accurate about The Patriot is it takes place in the Revolutionary War times, bro. Like,
Yeah, for real.
there's
It's
not,
just
part of the expectation when you go into movies. Like, I think it always bothers me when people do that. Like, now if no one would have had, Odysseus show up to Troy with like nods and an M4 and a silencer, then I would have been like,
this is an interesting adaptation. When Polyphemus showed up in a warship circa, I don't know, 1945.
like
Oh.
then
How did Odysseus not make it home when he had an F-15?
like that stuff. Come on, bro. We didn't have like antennas, weather reports. Like
They had the gods who hated them.
Like when I hear that kind of stuff, I'm always like, well,
Yeah.
is the general audience had the general audience not known that they were time period specific armor, would they have known? No.
When you think about like Greek and Trojan and Spartan
Not to
armor
mention-
that they're from,
Not to mention the time period armor looks hilarious.
it's not. It's terrible.
If I saw maybe if we're lucky, we'll get Trevor to put in time period armor right here. It's literally gold plate and hay with horns coming out the side. That would have been it would have turned the movie into a comedy. We would have been watching Monty Python.
He only has one eye.
But I don't know. That's like one thing that I actually thought that this movie did very well is that it was so good that all of these like things that everybody had brought up in the months and the weeks prior, all of those were kind of like pushed so far to the back of the bus.
Yeah, Nolan shut everybody up.
Yeah,
right?
Because it just was a good movie. And you can go, yeah, that irritates me. But also, you can't just be like, this irritates me, so therefore the movie's terrible, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to give credit where credit's due.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's actually just a really big trope for all movies, not just the Odyssey, right? I think that's such a reason why I have such a big beef with like IGN and Rotten Tomatoes is they're like, this is the Mario Bros movie. It has no story. They're not in Brooklyn all the time. Brooklyn doesn't look like that. When you're like, what?
They're watching these things as if they're on
give these movies the credit they deserve, right?
Academy.
Yeah. So long tangent, but that was why I left this movie theater and I was like blown away because I was expecting it to be like, I mean, I said going into this movie on the podcast and to Trevor that this movie was like going to be like a high risk, high reward. I still believe it was a high risk and high reward and it paid off, right?
Yeah. I've been a Christopher Nolan fan for a really long time. I trust his writing almost more than I trust his directing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you have so much material and wisdom to going into this. Like, I think that he'll end up coming out triumphant. And
yeah, and it was good.
He did.
It was very good. I think what would be one thing that like you would change if you could?
I think that the scene that they're trying to decide whether to pass between the whirlpool or, the narrow cliff face, and like obviously like the decision and based on the story of Odysseus withholding the information that if they go through the pass, then not everyone will die, but if they go through the whirlpool, then everyone will die. And so he has to choose and say, like, we should go through the whirlpool to get them to decide against it because they're against him at that moment. Every member of the crew that was still alive did not want to do what Odysseus said because they thought that he was the reason they were dying. I just feel like that scene could have been, I guess, more fleshed out. Maybe a little longer.
That felt very out of all the movie, that felt so rushed. And I think a lot of people are gonna miss the point in the fact that like the whirlpool is actually created by a monster.
Yeah, there's one.
It's not just.
I explained this to a coworker the other day because they were confused by it, and I was like, think of it like the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi. There's just a mouth down there, and rather than having big tentacles to bring in its prey, it's making a whirlpool to bring in ships. Mm-hmm. It's like that. Mm-hmm. And like I can't necessarily say I'm like not a fan of the design for, I think Scylla, whatever, the 6-headed monster that grabs thing. But it just like when I first saw it, I was like, that looks like an elephant trunk. Mm-hmm. Like I was expecting like teeth.
Yeah.
But I guess like it probably is really hard to kind of figure out how you want that to look and be done. Like retracted into like what looked like a wasp nest. Mm-hmm. Like it's like so brief that I can understand why you wouldn't want to put so much money and detail into designing a creature. But I just always thought of it more like reptilian.
Yeah, that scene entirely I felt like was probably the poorest part of the movie.
Yeah, I feel like the whirlpool could have been bigger, but
a little more terrifying.
Yeah. Still did it better than the Percy Jackson movie, but Whatever.
Yeah. I think. Oh, I had something that I was gonna say, but I can't remember it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that I would have liked to see them make Odysseus more of a dick, because he in the in the books, like in the book, he's arrogant and he's kind of an a-hole, right? Like everything happens to him and his crew because he's obsessed with giving himself the credit, right? And this movie, it just kind of like it shifts it away from that into him having like true intentions. So, like obviously they come back, they get to the same message because, like, for Odysseus to go home, he has to like admit that it's his fault, that everything went wrong, and that's why they got lost, and that's why it took him so long to go home. But in the movie, like in the book, he does that because he admits, oh, well, I caused all of our problems, right? When we left the cave with the cyclops, I turn around and say, let it be known that I, Odysseus, did this, right? And that's how the cyclops knows how to pray to, like, who to blame when he prays to Poseidon. And he's constantly mocking like Zeus in the storms, and blah, 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 right? Like it's his arrogance that is causing them versus like the movie. The only real bad thing he did was Troy, like in the Trojan horse.
I feel like,
But it doesn't really explain, like, I don't know if that makes sense, right? Because the whole reason he gets lost is because he pisses off the gods. But he pisses off the gods in the book because he's constantly mocking them in everything he does versus like one singular event. So they obviously, like I said, they have the same problem and they come to the same conclusion. But I think I would have liked to see a little more book accurate Odysseus. And that's like a minor.
yeah, I kind of, when you introducing that point, I don't necessarily disagree, but like the creative choices to, rather than have him like constantly mocking the gods, but more like he's constantly like almost like being an atheist about it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I just want to go home. And it's not until he has that conversation with Cersei about, what to do on how to help them get home and going to Hades and getting a prophecy that he starts to, like, it starts to snowball where he starts to respect them a lot more and like being very more choice about what he does, with the whole like Helios's cattle and all of that. Like never before that moment would you hear him say like, don't eat it, it's the sun gods. Because before, it's not like don't kill the cyclops, it's Poseidon's, right?
Yeah.
It's like from Cersei onward, he just wants to help everyone get home and to live. And then, once you get to that part where all of his men eat the sun god's cattle and he just is just defeated because he knows that it's not his fault, but they're all going to die anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. That was just, like, again, it's so minor that I'm like,
Yeah.
Because they accomplished the same thing. It's just like the means of transportation of how he gets from point A to point B that I was like, like it. I felt like out of everything that took the most away from the story than anything else that people had problems with, like in the entire movie. Right. That was the one deviation I felt like was the biggest from the book that like made this obviously its own adaptation versus like a true adaptation.
Yeah.
And not every, like, I don't know. I kind of sound, I guess, a little arrogant myself, right? Like I'm very well aware that there is
You're projecting.
There is no true like adaptation of everything. everything gets touched and messed up and changed when it comes to Hollywood. And this isn't even me saying that it makes it a worse movie for it, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just think that like this kind of criticism and like this talk, like, you know, the Odyssey is like the original fable, right?
Mhm.
Like it has a moral. Like,
Mhm.
you know, Homer wrote all this stuff to teach you something.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily history. I don't know, and neither does anyone else, but like it has legit morals
Yeah.
that you learn by the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's very
You can
obvious
tell when you
in the
read it.
film. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's like critiquing the little red hen because there was, you know, a cow that isn't native to the region that they put the little red hen in. Right?
Right.
Like it would have really helped my immersion if it was, you know, a yak.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But like, you know, I just think that all in all, like when you really reach the conclusion of the film, like maybe they didn't have like the whole like Athena gives Odysseus a disguise so that no one recognizes him until he chooses to reveal himself in Ithaca, and it's just like him using what he's learned about his journey about himself and why he's choosing not to reveal himself. It just makes it a little bit more of like a more realistic and poetic approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of like what a lot of those choices were like.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much like this wasn't so much like a Trojan War story and a veteran story, and more of like, you know, do unto others as you would have do unto you, lest they be a god in disguise kind of a thing.
Yeah. 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 It's definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel like no one was watching the movie thinking about that fact.
Well, I actually not to like get crazy religious about this, but I actually read like a take on it somewhere that like the Odyssey is clearly like derived. It's adapted from a Christian mindset, because in the book there is no like Zeus's law. Like,
Yeah.
do unto others as you would do unto yourself, right? And obviously in the movie it's because you don't know if any of them are a god. But that's a very Christian belief, right? Like
Yeah, the golden rule and all that.
And so when I read that, I was like, okay, that helps explain, like, for me a little bit, like the deviation down this route. I don't know if that's what Nolan was going for, obviously, but a little food for thought. One thing I actually just remembered, one thing that I hated. It was like the one thing that took me out of my movie viewing experience. When they're in the underworld and Agamemnon is talking to Odysseus and then he finishes, and when he pulls back into the crowd, you can totally tell that Agamemnon is on like wheels and they're pulling him back. It's not because like you watch him like step through the crowd, so you watch him like step through, but then when he comes back, he's like, I don't know. When I watched that, like,
I don't think I really noticed.
I laughed a little bit. And I choked on my popcorn. But
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
that was one thing that I was like, it wasn't a bad thing, and it wasn't something that I was like,
It's just your like movie making mind noticed. You're like, hey, that was a little different.
yeah, like, why does he just like float back? Why doesn't he like just take steps backwards?
Yeah.
Probably because if Benny Safdie would have actually had to walk backwards in that whole getup, he probably would have fallen over, because he definitely
And
has
a cape, you know.
he definitely has the Batman movement,
Yeah.
you know. But
Speaking of,
that was one
not
thing.
speaking
that I
of
thought was
Batman,
funny.
but like, I actually really liked the way they did the underworld. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, you know, it's a little weird that like it's like somewhere that they can sail to, but like that's like a thing in ancient Greek myth. Is
Yeah.
like you find the right spot and you go the
Every
right
place
way at
is
the right time.
obtainable.
You can get there.
Mhm.
But like, I do really like, having them like kind of like zombie coming out of the earth. That's like, somewhat cliche. Like having it just fogged over everywhere.
Black
And
sands.
having like, the oracle is also like undead. Giving him this prophecy, and it's not for anyone else's ears, but then like, a whole like dead man's chest moment when it's over. All of these dead people are chasing after all the alive ones. It was like super cool, like a really neat shot. And you could like, knowing Christopher Nolan, those are real people. And that is real fog, real blaze.
And they had all of the actors like actually bury themselves in sand, and they had like snorkel tubes.
Yeah, like that's awesome. That's really, I want to hear and see like
that would have
what that was like.
Crazy sight to see as you look over the beach and you just see these little like shoots
like that. And I think that like the makeup they did for the dead
to make
was
them
really
look
neat.
like ashy almost.
Yeah, like they're like, they're in between going onward to the next what is it, Elysium or Judgment or whatever it was in Greek mythology. But like,
I think there was like another thing that one of my coworkers pointed out. I actually didn't have a problem with it, and I didn't really notice it much until he brought it up to me when I was talking to him. But he was like, the only thing I didn't like is that I felt like Odysseus's crew suffered from plot armor. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, every time they landed, you watched them lose like 30 guys, a ship was destroyed. But then when they would land again, there would still be like 100 dudes with them. And I was like, kind of a good point.
You watch him get, picked off a little bit.
What are
that's like the purpose, but what are my thoughts on what?
I was going to ask what your thoughts were on like the whole Cersei scene.
Like truthfully, like
the naked
really,
butt scene.
Really. Yeah, I'll bring that up. If you're out there and you're somehow listening to this, I want to know
how much
who
money
got paid to be the one guy who like was supposed to be the deer, who his only scene, his only thing on camera is him just butt up, laying in the grass. Like, how do you audition for that role? How do you?
What is the? I want to know what the casting credit is. Ass guy.
Deer man. I don't like, because that's wild.
Put that on your freaking resume. This is what I played. That's me. Mike Wazowski moment.
You have that in your demos for auditions.
It's just your.
Here's
butt.
this.
It's just you cheeked up. Oh,
but like I guess talking a little bit on that, like that scene did kind of feel a little bit out of nowhere, but also like fit in well enough. It like got the point across. It wasn't necessarily what I would have anticipated. Like I knew that part was in the story. I knew they got turned into pigs. I just didn't think it was they got molded into pigs.
Yeah.
Like it definitely hammered home Cersei's feelings and thoughts better than her just like eat this stew and then poof, they're pigs, right? Like really like gross and hard to watch, but like it's not like I couldn't look away.
Yeah.
It's like I also was eating that stew.
Yeah. I think I don't know. Everyone I've talked to and everything I've seen online, like especially the Stringhams coming out of the theater, they're like you and your siblings were all like, that scene was awful, gross. I couldn't keep watching it. I think I'm actually one of the very few that was like not grossed out by it. I watched The Fly as a kid.
I did not.
That movie's brutal, but I actually thought that it was probably one of the coolest like ways to show that happening. Right?
Yeah. And
like,
especially since it's all practical,
and
right?
That's another thing. Like, we can't say it enough, but that they actually used a sculptor to do all of those scenes,
the different prosthetic heads to shape into the right thing.
Yeah,
like that must have been so. What's her name? Samantha Morton, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The actress. Like that must have been such a weird day on set.
Well, and not to mention that could have like the potential to be one of the longest days ever, right?
Yeah.
Like, If you mess up any kind of movement, like I've watched Grace do pottery enough. I don't know if they're any. I don't know, like if they're translatable at all, right? Like
Ask her to make you a pig head.
if in like the molding, like pottery, if you're like, what if I snout, right? But like just with my experience of that stuff is watching my wife throw pottery. Like one slight mistake and you have to start over.
Yeah.
It's not like you just are like, oh, okay, push that.
My imagination is that they had several for those different like they had like wipe cuts, but like I imagine they just had several of them, and that they're pretty much just like they were built for the purpose of the one motion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like every single thing is like a different take of her doing whatever.
I think something that I can really appreciate about those scenes too is how old they look. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Old being like, that looked very much like 80s Hollywood.
Yeah.
Which I actually thought was really good. Because like you see
Jim Henson could have contributed to that scene kind of a thing.
Yeah, right. Where you watch like the old movies about werewolves and you can clearly see
the prosthetic.
Where the person is, and then what scene is like a complete like animatronic fake person, and then the real thing again, right? Mm-hmm. Like when it shows the close-ups of her like pulling the guy's faces, like it's obvious that that's not a real person.
Yeah,
right. And I think that I actually really appreciated that because I felt like it added to the experience for me, right?
It like. I think that scene is one of the reasons it got an R rating, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Disturbing imagery.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, it's kind of out of nowhere. For people who, like, are not as familiar with the story, you're like, whoa!
Mm-hmm.
His ear looks weird. And then she's tearing his hair out, and then, oink, oink.
I actually was kind of confused by the R rating, if I can be honest. Like, I've seen plenty of R movies in my life. And this is probably the one R movie that I'm like watching it. I was expecting this because like when the movie comes with an R rating, like there's going to be something wild in it.
Yeah.
That like justifies it, right? Like somebody gets ripped in half and you see all of it, or they constantly drop the F-bomb.
I don't know how many like partially naked people, what the limit is to make it rated R,
but
or not,
that was like
that could contribute.
That was like the one thing I was like waiting for the entire movie was like, what has made this an R film? And as I left, I was like, I mean,
they said the F word 3 times.
I've seen worse.
Yeah.
Like
you're desensitized.
I've seen much worse than that, right? But
it's probably like Christopher Nolan, out of circumstance, it became rated R, and he was making it for a PG-13 rating, but then to fulfill his vision, he had to make it R.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if it was like he finished it, and in his mind, he's like, yeah, it's a good, solid PG-13 movie. This will fit in the ratings. And then when it got sent off and it came back and they slapped it with the R label, he was like, oh,
still going to make a ton of money.
But it was really good.
The amount of slit throats.
Yeah.
For a lot of those.
Yeah.
Like, the movie definitely wasn't as gory as I might have anticipated. I knew it wasn't going to be like, it's just constant blood and people being stabbed and hearts being ripped out kind of a thing. But I was expecting more than just like, Broadway-esque, like the person is turned and you see the theatric cut of the neck and then they fall. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they cut away from Athena's head being cut off, right?
Yeah. I think with the remaining amount of time, I actually do want to do a little bit of like bringing attention to the actors' performances.
Yeah.
That's something that I feel like deserves the biggest credit from like obviously practical effects, Like, the movie is a masterpiece to watch. If you were deaf, right? If you were a deaf person and you had to watch the movie, you would not leave with a bad experience, right? But like if you were blind and like all you could enjoy the movie with was just like what you were hearing, very rarely are those like, could you take away one of the senses? Is it still good? Probably not.
Yeah, if you can't taste, you'd like this movie.
But like the performances of just about everyone who has any second of screen time, like I wonder if Nolan held them all at gunpoint and was like, if you don't give me A-list acting, C-list actor that no one's seen before, you're off the show.
I do really think that, like, you hear from actors on their press tour and stuff that, like, when Nolan comes knocking, you answer.
Yeah.
Like, you'll do it regardless.
You put out.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, if you have the opportunity to be in a Christopher Nolan movie, you're taking that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You hear from all these guys who, like, Nolan called them up to offer the role, and they say yes before he even says what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he elevates all of their performances.
Yeah.
Case in point with, like, Tom Holland. This is, like, the first, like,
Serious.
big production that he'd really been part of. Like, it was like, this is a movie that is going to stand the test of time.
Yeah.
It's going to last as long as the book does.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at, like, Robert Pattinson's performance as Antinous, like, he's not in the movie a ton, but man, you hate that guy.
Yeah, he kills it.
You are seething at the tip.
And I like Matt Damon's performance. This is definitely one of Matt Damon's best performances of his career.
He'd kind of like a good amalgamate of a lot of the stuff that he's done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, he had like Jason Bourne level action going on.
Yeah.
In some of those scenes.
Yeah.
He definitely will get an Oscar nod. Potentially even a win.
I think the person who deserves like the best acting credit, though, in my opinion, is Anne Hathaway.
She did do a fantastic job.
Every time that Anne Hathaway was on screen, like Penelope steals the show, right? She probably has like a total of maybe 15, 20 minutes total screen time of a 3-hour movie. Mm-hmm. But those like 5-minute shots that show her, she blows it out of the water.
Yeah.
Like everybody's acting's really, really good. And then there was like Anne Hathaway. Like just a league
she
of
will
her
also
own.
definitely get an Oscar nod and potentially a win.
Yeah.
For this one.
She killed it.
Yeah. Even Zendaya's like blips of performances were like really good, especially when it all got wrapped up in the very end, when you realize why she is Athena to Odysseus.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that was moving.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. I want to give a big shout out to Himesh Patel, the guy playing Eurylochus, like the right-hand man of Odysseus for most of that.
Mm-hmm.
He did a super good job.
Yeah.
He had like a ton of screen time, and like you really got the understanding that he was like how he slowly was separating himself from being like right by Odysseus. Like after everything that happened with the Trojans and the Trojan horse, he was like inseparable, like right by him. He'd do everything that he said. But after his men started to die because of Odysseus's decisions, like you see him slowly start to doubt more and more until, it's probably easy enough to assume that he is the reason why all of like the last little bit of the crew died eating that cow.
Mm-hmm.
He probably is the one that did it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a really good character arc that is gonna go like unnoticed or like unappreciated because it's not meant to be in the limelight. But like, I think that Nolan's writing of the character and Himesh's performance was superb. Yeah. Very well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Like, just really everyone, right? Like, there wasn't a single miss in this movie for me.
Even Travis Scott did a good job.
Yeah.
I love the thought of casting a rapper as a bard.
And I thought that his performance was going to be the worst, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, there was far worse performances than him. And I'm like, crazy, bro.
Yeah.
We had 2 Batmans.
Oh, and
Odyssey.
John Leguizamo, he did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic job. It makes you forget he played Sid the Sloth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're too loud. I hear you coming. I can't really do a Sid the Sloth when I can't hear myself talking.
That sounds pretty good. What would you give this? What would you give this movie on a? What would you give this movie on a rewatchability scale, 1 to 5?
That's tough because like movies that are 3 hours plus, unless they have like Lord of the Rings, like super strong fandom that like people love those movies so much that they make it an event to watch them every year or whatever. Like the Odyssey, I definitely would watch again. It's just one of those ones that's like I really got to have the time and the mood to watch it. So I'd give it a 3.
Yeah.
Because like
good middle.
Like if I found myself watching it again, I'd watch it through all the way.
Yeah.
And I would enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I'd watch that again.
Despite this is not to reflect how I feel about the movie, rewatchability, I'm giving it a 2. Just this is one of those movies where I personally feel like once you've seen it, you've seen it. Right?
I also feel like it's
a great movie.
Very clearly meant to be a theatrical experience.
Yeah, I think that's another.
It will be made worse rewatching it at home.
Yeah,
but like it's still phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah, but rewatchability is definitely lower for those same reasons.
What would you give it out of 10?
9.7.
I'd give it like
literally think that movie was fantastic.
I think I'd give it an 8.
I
think its basement for me is like a 7.5.
Wow.
But I think like an 8.
You put that up there with Masters of the Universe? That's what you gave that one.
What did I give Masters of the Universe?
An 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
Yes, but for different reasons.
Okay.
Right?
Fair enough.
For different reasons. Like I think Project Hail Mary personally was a better movie than this.
I guess I can't necessarily disagree, but like for different reasons, I
Yeah.
think that this movie was better than that one. And like, I'm not going to compare it to completely different thing. Apples and oranges, right?
Yeah.
Great fruit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give them all to me.
But like, good movie.
Yeah.
Go watch it in the theaters, because if you don't watch it in the theaters, and I don't even mean like watching it in IMAX. I know there's a lot of drama about this. Really, just go watch it.
I just recommend if you don't have IMAX near you or like you can't afford it or whatever, just try and find a movie theater that is showing it with like Dolby audio at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want like as much of a cinematic experience as you can.
But go watch it in the theaters, because if you wait for this movie to come out on like streaming platform or DVD, for any of you dinosaurs who still use that thing,
it'll be a worse watch.
yeah, it will not be as good
It'll
as
live up to the hype that your family members who saw it in IMAX are telling you.
Yeah, just go see it in the theaters, right? Experience it.
Yes, if you are like, you're like hesitant because it's like got like an R rating or whatever, or like if you're like a little squeamish or whatever, honestly, this movie is super tame. We touched on it a bit, but like it really is super tame. I guarantee you that you have watched movies that are more violent, more gory, swear more than this one.
Mm-hmm. I felt like this was very on par with like to be honest, like a Marvel movie.
In terms of those criteria.
Yeah.
Like
it's obviously not comparable, but like on the solely the R rating, it felt like I was expecting it to be like Gladiator, and it was not.
Yeah.
It was Monty Python compared to Gladiator.
Yeah. Just go experience this movie. It's got all this hype for a good reason. Christopher Nolan can do no wrong.
Yeah.
That man is a legend. You want to watch this movie, and like he literally spent immeasurable amounts of money just so this movie was filmed 100% with IMAX cameras. It's the first movie to ever do that. Those things cost like $300,000 plus a day to rent from IMAX. He made the whole movie with that.
When Christopher Nolan comes a knocking.
Like, I can't imagine the like pitch meeting he had with Universal. He's like, I want to make it entirely with IMAX. Chris, are you sure? I want them to invent a new type of them for me.
For the Trojan horse ride to come to Universal Studios.
I also want to take the IMAX camera on a boat that we built. And, you know, put film in it.
Oh, man. We're going to actually put it in a cave. Where the only lighting
Here's the design.
fire.
Here's the design for the giant puppet we're making.
On top
Jabba levels of detail.
on top of the IMAX. Universal's like, oh my gosh.
Ooh, ooh. It's Nolan, man. Here's the checkbook, bro.
I was
Just,
gonna say-
here's our company card.
Anyone else? Hell no.
Here's our platinum Amex.
Are
Have
you
at it.
crazy?
Have at it, man.
Take 4 more cards. Max them all out. We'll cover it.
You're gonna make it all back tenfold. I don't care.
Oh, man. Good movie.
I actually haven't seen the latest box office numbers, but I know that like if you were going just like strict like budget for making the movie, not including marketing and all of that, like it was like came out like opening weekend, like pretty much broke even 250 mil.
Yeah.
So we've rambled on long enough. But my voice is so bad. I'm so sick. Subscribe.
Like the reels. Follow us on Instagram.
We love you.